In 1479, in a small English town, a woman was punished publicly. Not for stealing, not for violence, not for heresy. She was punished for words. 2 Sundays in a row, she was forced to walk barefoot through her parish church, carrying a lit candle while her neighbours watched in silence. Her crime? She couldn't stop talking. History is usually told through wars, emperors, and grand events. But today we're looking at something smaller, something familiar, stories that prove humans have never really changed. This is Same Old Humans. The year is 1479. In the little fenland town of Wisbech, then in Lincoln Diocese, something unusual is happening in the pews. A woman named Isabel, the wife of John Austin of Kirkgate, is marching into church barefoot, wearing only a simple kirtle and kerchief. She's not sick or poor, mind you, but on penance. For it turns out Isabel had been using her tongue as a weapon, calling her neighbours houris, strumpets, and a local word, fissenagers. The deanery court records dryly note that she was cited by the church for being a common defamer of her neighbours. In short, medieval Wisbech has its very own public shaming spectacle. Even Shakespeare, who delighted in creative invectives like pox-marked wagtail or priest's whore, might have raised an eyebrow at Isabel's roster of insults. Her choice of words, recorded literally in the church rolls, were about as colourful as they were insulting. The funniest one, fissenager, is glossed in a Middle English dictionary simply as unchaste woman, though it literally evokes something like a farting old nag. We can imagine Isabel standing in the market or by the bakehouse, gleefully lobbing these epithets at any woman she fancied. Medieval women's reputations really did hinge on chastity, so calling someone a whore was the heaviest slight imaginable. Apparently Isabel had quite the mean streak. How did this gossip get out of hand? The church's own records supply the answer in plain terms. In 1479–80, the deanery of Wisbech, an ecclesiastical court under the Bishop of Lincoln, formally charged Isabel with defamation. This was no small matter. The church courts routinely handled slander and rumour-mongering. In fact, medieval canon law didn't even require a slur to be true, only that it was malicious. In today's terms, Isabel's case is almost like a medieval troll-hunting expedition. The court accused her of calling her neighbours whores and strumpets and fissenagers in a pernicious way, one later account puts it, by which they meant flagrantly and repeatedly. Initially, she denied the charges, but with no friends willing to testify on her behalf, the jig was up. She had no one to swear that she was an honest woman, so-called compurgators, essentially the medieval version of a character witness, and the court moved on to punishment. The sentence was a full public humiliation. For the next 2 Sundays, Isabel had to march in the church procession as a penitent. That meant barefoot and head bowed. The record says she walked bare feet, kerchief on head, wearing only a kirtle, carrying a 1-penny wax candle to light before the image of St. Edmund on the altar. 2 weeks of strip-mining your dignity in front of everyone, basically. Imagine her trudging through the nave behind the crucifix, each step a reminder of how badly her gossip had backfired. The procession was a solemn, collective ritual of the town. Isabel was forced to turn it into her own embarrassment parade. On the 2nd Sunday, officials even had her stop after the gospel reading so that she could offer her little candle to the statue of St. Edmund himself, the East Anglian martyr. After that, the church official literally put her on notice. Govern thy tongue, under pain of paying a hefty fine, 6 shillings and 8 pence, quite a sum then, if she slipped again. One can almost hear the city fathers smirking. They weren't letting this slide. In effect, Isabel became the medieval version of an internet-cancelled influencer. Publicly exposed, sanctioned by authorities, and made an example of. Neighbours who'd been insulted got to sit back and watch her flounder through her ritualised shame. The records don't give us all the personal details. We don't know whether Isabel felt contrite or scowled defiantly at St. Edmund's image as she placed the candle. We do know that nobody came forward to defend her. No matter how innocent she claimed to be, not one local was willing to vouch for her, so the court certainly believed she'd earned every bit of her public penance. It's worth pausing on that strange word, compurgator. This was a medieval legal practice where you could rally a group of honest people to swear you spoke the truth. Think of it like needing to find a jury of friends to clear your name. Isabel tried this trick by asking any of her neighbours, "I swear I didn't mean it. Will you swear for me?" But nothing doing. As the court notes, none of these neighbours was willing to support Isabel's good reputation by acting as a compurgator. It's almost like she shouted her insults so loudly that everyone decided she deserved whatever came next. Once the compurgators backed out, canon law says the court didn't even have to prove her words false, just that they were malicious. In effect, she could have uttered truth or lies. It was the act of malicious slander that sent her to the stocks of public opinion. With her neighbours' noses held high and their own honour affirmed, Isabel became the sole object lesson. The punishment was very deliberate. Walking barefoot with a candle was not a neutral act. It was a sign of humility and repentance. Bare feet, especially indoors, were as symbolic then as kneeling in handcuffs is today. A kind of medieval, "you talking to me, miss?" moment turned on its head. And the one-penny candle? It was a token of devotion, but also of penance. One author notes they made a point of having her literally offer it to the statue of St. Edmund after the Gospel reading, in front of the whole congregation, so the faithful could see their sinner on her knees, eyes lowered. The fine print warning about a 6 shillings and 8 pence fine was just the cherry on top. It meant her slip-ups could cost her real money later. What happened next? The records go silent after that brief sentence. One can imagine Isabel trudging home on those Sundays, perhaps swearing she'd learned her lesson. Maybe she quietly apologised to the neighbours she'd maligned. Or maybe she doubled down once the coast was clear. We'll never know. What is certain is that this little episode was only one of many such cases. Historians have turned over dozens of Wisbech court entries from those years. Women getting hauled in for scolding, men for calling others thieves, even accusations of poisonings. The church court was the medieval rumour tribunal. In one nearby case, a butcher was accused of murder by onlookers in the market square, simply because neighbours whispered about it. It seems communities often settled scores through the pulpit after all the normal authorities looked the other way. The real jaw-dropper is how familiar this all feels. Swap out the medieval setting for a modern suburb or your Facebook feed, and the pattern is almost the same. Today, Isabel's part might be played by an angry Twitter troll or a neighbourhood gossip blogger. Instead of church punishments, we might get Twitter threads and heckling comments on Instagram. Instead of St. Edmund's statue, maybe it's the emoji of shame. But people are still people. We still love to spread rumours, we still take offence, and we still crave seeing a gossiper get their comeuppance. Cancel culture on social media, online shaming, backbiting Reddit threads. It's all just a new medium for an age-old hobby. In 1479, it was a little old lady walking with a candle and bowed head. In 2025, it might be a viral video and a trending hashtag. But the principle is the same. One person's reputation can be torn down by word of mouth, and the group's reaction is to put that person on display. Isabel Austin's tale ends uncomfortably close to home. Next time someone throws around that last unflattering rumour at Sunday brunch, just remember, we've had our versions of horoscopies and strong ladies for centuries. Back then, the neighbour would march in penance. Today, maybe the only thing she's losing is internet points. Different century, different currency of shame. But the gossip, the judgment, the spectacle? Same old humans. If this story felt uncomfortably familiar, you're probably not alone. If you enjoy stories that prove people have always been like this, subscribe for more. Same old humans.